Hello, gentlemen, lady. How's everybody doing this evening?
We doing fine, champ. You ready for next week?
Ready? Yeah. I'm ready.
And what's going on? Good morning to you. Another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles. It is your man, the Guru. Happy Thursday to y'all. Okay. So yeah, this is episode 2 of the relaunch of the Knucklehead Chronicles. Now, I have this particular show has gone through bumps and bruises, relaunches, rebrandings, and all that good stuff. But I want to give the people who have never heard an episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles before yesterday, let you guys in on a little secret. This show has been around for a long time. It changed names from the Common Sense Show TV to the Knucklehead Chronicles. So over the next 10 episodes, right? I'm going to try to narrow it down to 10, maybe more, but over the next 10 episodes, I am going to give you guys the origin or my story, because there are some people that follow me that have heard this story. I did my life story here back in 2018, but those particular episodes got lost. So I figured I had to redo it. So I am in the process of redoing. So over the next 10 episodes, you guys are going to get a little bit of, well, all the story actually, and you're going to find out why the name of the Knucklehead Chronicles is appropriate. Because I've been through a lot of stupid stuff, done a lot of stupid stuff for a lot of people, you know. But this is how. This was one of my ways of not venting. Venting is a bad word. This is my way of cleansing myself and being real to being real to other people, because I can't be an effective influencer or tell somebody how to live life when my life was jacked. So who better to give a better example of their jack-ups in life is, somebody who's been through it. So here we go. My story, I'm telling you guys, hold on to your hats. Anybody that's ever listened to my story that know me personally has heard this story. So if you guys are new to the game, hold on to your hats. It's going to be tricky. Not tricky, it's going to be funny and serious all at the same time. Okay. So this is chapter 1. This is the beginning. Knucklehead Chronicles. This is the Guru story. I'm going to tell you. Those of you who have been following me for any length of time kind of know the beginning. But here he goes. At the age of 16, it's kind of where life got nuts for me, right? I remember walking into my mother's bedroom. This has been, I'm 46 now. This is a whole 30 years ago. I walked in my mother's bedroom. And she was laid across the area. It was a Saturday morning, so it was just, hey, we're gonna chill on a Saturday. We watching Saturday morning cartoons, Schoolhouse Rock. You know how we do it. Those of us who are a certain age would know what Schoolhouse Rock is, but that's besides the point. So I walk in my mom's room at 16, and I went in there with the purpose of telling her, that there was this young lady that I was head over heels in love with, in high school. I'm from a small town in North Carolina. So the high school, there's only one high school, one middle school. So everybody went to the same school, right? Once you hit 9th grade, you went to the same high school. So I go in there and I tell her, I say, Mom, there's this young lady that, I'm just really digging. I need for you to tell me how to approach it, because I really didn't know the game, like that, because my mother and father were ministers and pastors. So, being a PK wasn't easy. I was always in church. I never got to go out, nothing like that. So I had a crush on this young lady, and I remember going to ask my mom how I go about, macking on her, or flirting, or back in what they said back in my day, it was courting. They'll say courting now, but back in my day, it was courting. So I go in there, I sit on the end of her bed, and I say, Mom, I got this girl. She's dope, man. Like, I'm crazy about her, whatever. Again, we're from a small town. That bears repeating, right? So I say, Mom, what do I do? She says, well, first of all, baby, what's her name? And I told her name. And she said to me, don't. Just like, no. And I always thought it was just my mom trying to protect me, and maybe she was. Maybe part of her was trying to protect me, right? But I thought it was just, I thought it was pure hateration, to be truthful with you. I told my mom, like, my mom hate him? Where'd that come from? But I did not see what she was saying at the time she was saying it. So she was like, no, you can't date her. I said, so after about 20 minutes of back and forth, I said, Mom, why? Why can't I date her? She said, because she's your half sister. So it was a long pause. It was a long pause. It was like, what? What do you mean, my half sister? And she was like, sit. I was already sitting down. She was like, okay, son, Brett, I got something to tell you. And she says that the man that has raised me all of my life up until that point of 16, she told me that man was not my biological father. Okay. At 16, that's a jolt. When you're told that the only man all 16 years, all of you've ever known was this young man and his family, this man and his family, and all that, and to find out at the age of 16, going on 17, that he was not my biological father. Now, he was my brother's biological father, but he wasn't my biological father. That was a hard pill to swallow. And when I tell you that was the beginning of this tumultuous life that I live, that you're going to hear about the next 10 episodes, I was beside myself. I was so angry. I was so angry. And I said, well, Mom, if he wasn't my father, then who is? Now, I want you guys to know, my mother had me at the age of 14. She was 14 when she had me. Right? So she was kind of, she was promiscuous. I think that's the name for it, promiscuous. And you come to find out the man that she got pregnant by was an older gentleman. I'm not going to call any names. I think I'm going to use code names in this podcast just to protect the identities of the people. So the man, let's call him Peanut. Okay, he looks like a peanut, like really, like the shape, everything is like peanut. So she told me who he was, and not a week later, maybe a week and a half later, we were walking through our local grocery store, and he comes around the corner, and my mama said, "Don't look now, but there's your daddy." I looked. At this point, I was still 16, still mad at her a little bit, but I was more so mad at him. So this dude, so he comes around the corner, and I stopped him. I was like, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "Is your name Peanut?" And he goes, "Yeah, why?" And I said, "Well, according to my mother, you're my daddy." And she says, he said, "Who is your mother?" And I told him who my mother was. I told her name. Told him her name. He said, "Oh, that hoe." Right. So I know everybody, if you're listening to this, you got a collective pause. did not. Everybody collectively gasped in that, in that moment. He said, "Oh, that hoe." I said, "Did you just call my mama a hoe?" He said, "Yeah, man. That's what she was. She was a hoe. She was out here in these streets." And she was like, and he was like, "Just for the record, dude, I'm not your daddy. Your daddy named so and so." He gave me another name. He gave me another guy, you know. And when I tell you, I hauled off and punched this guy in the store for calling my mama a hoe. Like you know, my mom was promiscuous. Yes. Did she hadn't been doing what she was doing? No, she didn't. But for you to stand there and call her a hoe, especially when you know you've been with her, like especially see, I hate when guys do that. Oh, she a hoe after you slept with her. Like, how does that work? It's like, how she a hoe? How she crazy? Yeah, you slept with her. So, mind you, so we it wasn't like blows with an S. It was a blow. I hit him, for calling mama hoe. So he was like, well, and he was so nonchalant with it. And he was like, well, you can hit me all you want. You can do whatever you want, but she's still a hoe. I said, man, if you don't get out my face, I'm going to jail today. And so we kind of ended that way. And I remember my mom coming around. My mom was in a different aisle. She was shopping. She didn't think anything of it. So she comes around the corner looking for me. And she sees him on the floor, talking junk still. After getting his jaw cracked, he's still talking junk. Right? So she's like, baby, come on. Let's go right now. I was like, this dude decided to call you a hoe. She said, it's okay, baby. Just come on. You'll need to get in trouble. Just come on. And I said, okay. And so we left. But I was so angry with my mom. I'm like, Mom, how could you hold something like that from me for 16 years? But I guess it's, it's the old adage that, children mature when guys mature. It's later in life, when we really mature. And I'm looking back on it, 30 years later, I'm thankful that she waited to tell me. I'm glad that she didn't tell me when I was 10 or 11 or 12. And, I feel like this. I was 16 when I found out my daddy was my daddy. Can you imagine? Excuse me. Can you imagine the children of today society who at 8, 9, 10 years old are finding out that their fathers are absent? Can you imagine that? So it's trauma, and people really don't understand that. Everybody think, the black man is so tough. He's so this, he don't that. Let me tell you something, man. We as men, we go through trauma too. The fact that we don't talk about that thing is what the problem is, right? We don't talk about our trauma. We don't talk about what we've gone through because in many situations it's embarrassing. For one. 2, we're stubborn, and we don't want to be judged. And we don't. And some of us don't deal with stuff because they don't want to look in the mirror. They don't want to have to deal with them. The stank of it all, the absolute stank of it all, because it's rough. It's hard out here when you've gone through trauma and this is some unspoken stuff that you haven't said anything about to anybody, and then you're bleeding on people who didn't cut you, and then you're looking like, why are you mad at me? I didn't do anything. That was me for many years, and like I said, that piece of information that I got at 16 years old shaped the way my life went for a very, very long time. So after that, the whole incident, after finding out that Peanut was my father, he had something. He called my mama a hoe, but he was a hoe. He had like 10 kids running around. So of course I had step brothers and step sisters, or half sisters and half brothers that was running around the same town. I was crushing on one of them, and I didn't even know. But I found out later that the young lady that I was crushing on had the same first name, the first, middle, and last name of my mother when she had me. Exactly. So, and also my mom telling me this story that she was in the hospital, having me, and the mother of Peanut's baby mama was in the other room, or back in the day they had two beds in one room, having babies and stuff. That's a long time ago. Don't do it now, but back in the day. So she was in the next bed, right across the curtain. And so when she had her baby, she named her baby after my mama. Same first name, same middle name, same last name at the time she was born. I was like, say what now? Like, what kind of nonsense is this? But anyway, so I tried to, I think, with him not acknowledging the fact that he was my father, that was traumatizing all in itself, because it makes you question. I looked at the man who raised me. I looked at him differently. The way that he, the way that he disciplined me at that point was different, because my attitude at that time was, you can't tell me nothing. You ain't my daddy. We were all going through it. If anybody listening to this knows exactly what I mean. It was a thing. It was, you can't tell me nothing. You are not my father. So I completely disrespected him and disregarded him, starting at the age of 16. It really got bad when I turned 17. Because we'll get into that later in the story, but I was just so angry. So another traumatic experience was trying to connect with my half brothers and sisters. And to this day, 30 years later, I've only connected with one half brother. The rest of the girls that knew me, that knew that he was my father, won't even talk to me. Like, I tried, when I tell you, they brushed me off like it wasn't nothing. Like, we all, and what's funny was we all ran in the same circles. But once that particular information came to light, they cut me off. And I was like, what? Why? So at the age of 16, I'm trying to figure out who I am. And I had nobody to help me, because my mom wasn't a plethora of information. She wasn't trying to, because I think once she had to tell me that my father was my father, she was embarrassed. Because I believe that she never had to figure it out. I thoroughly believe, my mom's gone now, God rest her soul. But I really believe that when that initially happened, I believe that she did not think that she had to one day explain to me that Walter was my stepfather. That's his real name. So just in case anybody knows, that Walter wasn't my biological father. I think she did not think that she would have to explain that. So she was jolted. My mother, she was jolted. She was upset. She was, because she had to explain that I couldn't date my sister. She had to explain that. She didn't want to, but she had to protect me. So in one instance, I get it. Other instances, not so much. But back to the traumatic events. People have to understand that with black men or boys, we are in a constant state of wanting to be accepted. Okay, maybe I'm way off base here. Let me rephrase. I'm speaking my Terry now. Okay, at that time, I was in a constant state of wanting to be accepted, especially after being told that my biological father didn't want me. It reminds me of a rap song Shaquille O'Neal did way back in the day. I think it was his first rap single, and the title went, "My biological didn't bother." I think about Tupac when he said when his father died, he didn't like, he couldn't mourn because he didn't like him. That all of that. There's so many instances and examples. was so angry. And that started a series of events that took my life completely off the rails. At 16 years old, when my mama told me that young lady was not mine, was my sister instead of my crush or my girlfriend, the very next girl that I dated was my first baby's mama. Catch that in the atmosphere, will you? So, because I was just wanting to be accepted, I went with the next one. And don't get me wrong, I loved her. I mean, she was my baby mom. You know what I'm saying? But she, when I first got with her, I loved her. Just she was my girlfriend. But in the back of my mind, I just wanted to be in something. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be in something. And so she accepted me. She loved me. At least I thought, that was traumatic. That was trauma and hurt in that as well. But again, we'll get into that down the road. Okay. So I get with her, and she's a year older because I'm a sophomore. No, yeah, I'm a sophomore, and she's a junior, in high school. And we date. She had other guys that she was talking to. That's just kind of who she was. She was a free spirit. And I thought that I could tame this free spirit. I'm like, sure, no, I can't. You know what I'm saying? Another thing is with men, stop trying to change these women, man. These women are who they are. Vice versa, women. Stop trying to change these dudes, man. These dudes are who they are. A lot of dudes are walking around here damaged, but refuse to get help. Refuse. Because they figure they got it. Right? So I went with her. We hung out with that family. Next thing you know, she's pregnant. She was my first sexual experience. And you know how it is. I mean, those of you guys, the fellas, that first time around, you know what it was. And I didn't, she got pregnant. I never forget the conversation because she called my house and she told me over the phone. And so her mother gets on the phone and says, "Let me speak to your mother." I said, "Okay." Got my mom on the phone. And she says, what should I call her? I don't have a name for her. The D. I'll just say D. I won't give her a full name, but D. She says, D's pregnant. What are we gonna do? My mama said, I remember just as as it happened yesterday. My mama said, "We ain't gonna do nothing. We're gonna get a blood test." Because my mama knew that she had other fellas that she was talking to, because I would tell her what was going on. I told my mom everything. So she was like, "Oh, well, the first thing we're going to do is get the blood test done." Now, back in the day, that was back in, 91, 90. They didn't have DNA testing back then. It was blood testing. You get your, well, actually it was DNA, but I think it came along a few years later. But my blood test was the actual blood test they drew my blood. They drew hers. They took it out, sent it out to a lab. Took forever to come back. Took the blood test, came back like 6 weeks later. Came back. That thing said, they sent me a copy of the results. And have you ever seen Maury Povich? And he's like, in the case of the little baby, you are not the father. But in this case, I was definitely the father. 99.99999% that I was the father of this baby, and I was happy, right? But I knew nothing of being a father. Again, traumatic experience upon traumatic experience upon traumatic experience. I'm hoping you guys are catching what I'm saying, and the different traumatic experiences that happened in my life. And there are many more. You'll catch it down the road. But she got pregnant. So she carried. I mean, we were, we still saw each other. We still hung out. But at one point, I think she was like 4 or 5 months pregnant. She broke up with me. And I was like, why would you break up with me? And she was like, I don't want to be with you no more. Okay. And so I even asked her at one point, to marry me. I think I was 18 at the time, maybe 17. And I asked her to marry me, and she turned me down flat. I was like, oh, okay. A rejection. See, I'm really hoping somebody catches this thing, though. I mean, rejection from my father. She was my first rejection, first girlfriend that rejected me. So it was tough. So life was really shaping up to be a real shit show. You know what I'm saying? To be truthful. And I took that rejection and I just channeled it nowhere. I held it. Right? And I took my anger out on everybody else because I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't have an outlet. I didn't have somebody that would say to me, don't do this, don't do that. I didn't have that, And so I kind of just had to hold on to all this nonsense and this anger and this bitterness and this, That's where my level of petty came from. Because people ask me all the time, it's like, how do you get so petty? This is how. You know what I mean? So it was tough. It really was tough, man. And I was like, okay. My mentality at that time became, I'm going to get you before you get me. Pretty truthful. I'm going to get you before you get me. You're not going to do it to me. I got you. So I'm going to stop chapter 1 here because at this point in the story, I'm going to become a teenage dad at 17. And there's so many experiences that happened in the time this was going on. But I don't want to give you guys too much of it because if I give you all of it now, you won't come back. So this age range is from 16 to 18. Everything's going on now. But yeah, she had the baby, and tomorrow we will get into the traumatic experiences of becoming a teenage dad. Because that shit won't easy. And if anybody who's listening who has become or has been a teen father, it's daunting. Now you listen or watch the shows on TV, Teen Mom and all that jazz, but they should do a show called Teen Dad because it's traumatic on women just as much. It's traumatic on men just as much as it's traumatic on women. People don't believe that for some reason because what most men do is up and run and leave. I was no exception to that rule. Okay, I did the same exact thing. I didn't know nothing about being a daddy. My first job was a dishwasher at my local grocery store years ago. And they put me on child support at that age. And I had to pay $300 a month. That was my entire check. But we'll get into that traumatic experience on tomorrow. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate y'all. Another episode of Knucklehead Chronicles. This is episode 2. The origin, the beginning. How did we get here? You're finna find out the hard way. You guys have a great one. We'll see you